Good morning and welcome to the Zach Ratliff Show. I'm Zach. All right, we're going to jump into it pretty quick this morning. Before we do, I'd like to thank the sponsors of this show, Church on the Rock, Texarkana. That's churchontherock.org. And then I'd like to thank Elmwood Custom Goods for being a sponsor of the show. And I'd also like to thank Mortgage Financial here in Texarkana for being a sponsor of the show. And without those three, the show wouldn't be what it is today. So thank you for your support, and I hope that all of you can visit their websites and see how they can help you if they have something that you need. Okay, so this morning, let me tell you something awesome first, maybe. My church, Church on the Rock, does, they open themselves up on Friday mornings from 7 to 8 a.m. We have time just for prayer, just to be there for prayer. I'm not there every Friday. I'm there some Fridays. I miss more than I'm not there more than I'm there. But it's nice to have somewhere to go on a Friday morning instead of going to the gym or doing whatever, and just have some time. And I really appreciate that. And it's really good. And then we come together for some, some corporate prayer, some all praying together kind of at the end of the hour or whatever. But this was in my reading this morning as I was looking through the front of my Bible. I have notes written down on different things. And so I was reading one. I'm like, I'm going to go read and see what this means. And it's Romans 13:7. And so this struck me because of all the anti-ICE protest. And don't worry, we're going to get to the Israel stuff and all that. But because of the anti-ICE protest and the immigration stuff back and forth and just where the state of our country. So Romans 13:7, render to all what is due to them, tax to whom tax is due, custom to whom custom is due, fear to whom fear is due, and honor to whom honor is due. Okay, man, that's a lot. And so then, I was thinking about it, and then even called my dad and was talking to him about it. And when it comes to custom, there's a lot in there. But with custom being when you go out of the country and then you come back in, you pay customs, you pay whatever taxes, and you claim whatever you need to claim to come back into the country or to leave the country. Right? So when you fly back into America, you go through customs. When you fly into any other country, you go to customs. You claim whatever you have to claim, and then you pay or give up whatever you have to be a part of that country. Okay, so when you come here legally, you have to pay to be here. Well, that's a big deal, right? You have to fit the mold. Well, then when you think about what Ellis Island used to be, everybody came that way. But if you weren't able to work, if you weren't able to be productive and be part of paying into our taxes or paying the custom, you weren't allowed here, right? So a lot of this comes from, if you got to pay our customs, if we're supposed to, and even Jesus said, who's on the denarii, right? And they're like, oh, well, Caesar's on there. He's going, give Caesar what's Caesar's, right? So if you're supposed to pay the taxes, if you're, and here's where my train of thought comes from. A lot of times Christians will be shamed into by the media, which I don't know, or they'll attempt to shame you by saying, oh, well, isn't it the Christian thing to do to help these people or whatever? Well, Jesus said to pay to Caesar what's Caesar's. In Romans, it says to pay tax what is due to them who tax. Pay, custom to who. So if you're going to come here, you have to follow their laws. You have to do stuff the way that it's set up. The Bible's very clear on that. So I will say, because that look, being a Christian, it gets thrown in your face all the time, right? And if you're not a Christian, maybe you don't understand. But you get made fun of and all the things. And I'm not looking for sympathy. That doesn't bother me. The Bible's very clear that that'll happen. That look at what happened to the 12 guys that hung out with Jesus. It didn't end well. So all of that said, it's it's expected. But if we're going to if you're going to try to shame us for not doing the Christian thing, well, the Christian thing is to follow the law, to pay the taxes that are due, to the custom, do the custom that's due. Well, then you can even roll that into assimilation and those customs, right? You can make this all about, here's what you need to do, here's how we need to become one, here's how you're supposed to integrate into the country, here's how you're supposed to become one with the country, not separate, not be dependent on us for your well-being, not come in and mooch off the system. You're supposed to be able to pay your taxes. You're supposed to be able to be a productive member of society. You're supposed to be able to move forward. So if we're going to be shamed for being Christians and not doing the Christian thing, then let's expect the Christian thing. You come in, you do your part, you pay your part, and we move forward. Anyway, that was just something that was on the top of my mind, and especially then I read that this morning. I'm like, all right, we're going to roll with that. We're going to open up with it. All right, let me read Donald J. Trump's statement from this is on X, but it was on J.D. Vance, but it was from Truth Social. Donald Trump says, I gave Iran the chance. I gave Iran chance after chance to make a deal. I told them in the strongest of words to just do it, but no matter how hard they tried, no matter how close they got, they just couldn't get it done. I told them it would be much worse than anything they know, anticipated, or were told, that the United States makes the best and most lethal military equipment anywhere in the world, by far, and that Israel has a lot of it, with much more to come, and they know how to use it. Certain Iranian hardliners spoke bravely, but they didn't know what was about to happen. They are all dead now, and it will only get worse. There has already been great death and destruction, but there's still time to make this slaughter. With the next already planned attacks even more brutal. Oh, to make this slaughter more brutal. Sorry, sometimes I couldn't put it all together and make it make sense. Come to an end. To make it come to an end. Iran must make a deal before there's nothing left and save what was once known as the Iranian Empire. No more death, no more destruction. Just do it before it's too late. Still our president's pushing. Hey, give up these nukes. Give up your nuclear program. Let's end this. But we know it's a tale as old as time. Israel is going to protect itself. Iran has claimed and has said for years, for what I can remember in my life, they were the axis of evil in the George Bush administration, right? And George W. Bush, not H.W., but George W. Bush. They've always said death to Israel and death to the great Satan, which is America. They want to kill all of us. It's been stated many times over. So Israel being right there, a block away in neighborhood terms, as the intelligence said that the enrichment of the Iranian nuclear program was getting close to weapons grade being enriched, they had to do what they had to do. They gave them a chance, and you knew earlier this week when you start seeing embassy officials and non-essential U.S. government officials and their families leaving the region, you already knew. You knew what was coming, and I even heard on the radio, maybe it was on, I think it was on The Blaze, one of the Blaze programs, I even heard where they're like, well, this could be a bluff. And maybe that's what Iran thought. Oh, they're just bluffing. They're just doing this so it looks like something bad's about to happen. Nope. They went in with great strategy. And so I'm going to read this to you. This is from X.com. Ido Halbany, Ido Halbany. I don't know how to say it, but that's how I'm going with Ido Halbany. I don't think people truly grasp what we're witnessing. This may very well be the most flawless military campaign of the modern era. Hezbollah is unwilling to intervene. Militias in Iraq refuse to help. The Houthis are in shock. Syria is paralyzed, and ground forces continue their operations in Gaza. Senior figures in the Islamic Republic are in a state of total panic. Aerial refueling is proceeding without interference over Syria, by the way. There's a video out there of an Israeli fuel tank plane and fueling jets over Syria. Let me tell you, with the Bible as my belief and as my guidestone, it's not impossible for God to open the skies for Israel to get there. He's open to sea. So I'm not surprised that this can happen. And then this goes on to say, let it be clear, IDF forces, Mossad, and Shin Bet are currently doing whatever they want. No one saw this coming. Listen, we know that the Israelis go years into planning, just like with the whole pager thing a few months ago, where all of a sudden all these pagers went off and blew up all over Gaza, right? We know this is the way they operate. We know that the Mossad is everywhere and great at what they do. I mean, to be surprised, I think would be a little bit ridiculous. So, I don't know. It's just amazing. Then if you go to the Times of Israel, and that's the timesofisrael.com, defense official, if strikes succeeded, we did it to Iran in 10 minutes. That way we did what we did to Hezbollah in 10 days. So he's saying, hey, we came in there, we hammered them. There was nothing they could do. And then this from Dr. Eli David, breaking reports that the entire top brass of the Iranian Guard have been eliminated. They killed every one of their leaders. And even, it's amazing. They knew where they were, and they went in and got them. Went in and got them with rockets and bombs, but they went in and got them. This is strategic. But once again, it's a war as old as time. Iran and the people of their beliefs have been trying to kill Jewish people since well before us, well before the United States. For thousands of years, this has been a holy war between these two beliefs. We, in no way can we think, no matter who we elect, no matter what we do, we are not going to solve this. It's fairly clear that this is a holy war. They all know it. We claim to be so secular here in the U.S. and probably the Western world in general that, oh no, there's no such thing. There is such thing, and we're seeing it play out now. And Israel actually really put this off for longer than I expected them to, but they're not going to put it off so long that they jeopardize their citizens. And I know that's wild coming from a country that we've allowed an invasion of foreigners into our country to do what they want, where they have a government that is protecting their citizens, is standing up for their borders and all these things. It's almost completely opposite of what we've got going here. Now, I'm not calling for us to bomb Mexico or anything like that, but I'm just saying their government's standing for its people, and that's what happens. It's the whole play stupid games, get stupid prizes trick, and that's where we are. All right, let me go back through some of my notes on some other things. This is from Thomas Massey yesterday on X.com. He said, just voted for the 2025 Rescissions Act. These are the first Doge cuts. $9 billion won't solve our budget problems, but it's an incredible start. That's exactly right. And that's what the Republicans said. Hey, let's get the big, beautiful bill through, and then let's start paring down where we need to. I'm glad. Look, $9 billion is nothing when it comes to $37 trillion in debt. However, it's more cutting than we've had. It's more cutting than we're used to. So we just have to know that this is good. And so then when you go to the Politico article about it, it says House Republicans have narrowly advanced a request, and that's true. The vote was 214 to 212. So who are the Republicans that voted against it? That's what I want to know. They should be out. They won't be because they'll say the right things or whatever. But why can we not all say, hey, there's $9 billion of savings? Look, if we keep spending money the way we've been spending, my daughter, your son or daughter, your grandkids, they're going to have to pay for it. We are, as an elder millennial, we are paying for the previous generations being unbridled, right? I mean, so it's just, and look, you all have, well, most of you have house payments or car payments. Some of you don't because you've worked hard and you've saved your money and you pay for everything, and that's where I hope to be one day. I'm not there yet, but your compounding interest is ridiculous. So at some point, our interest is just overwhelming. Right now, this year, we will pay more in interest on our debt than we will pay for defense spending. Well, that's a wild thought. So anyway, $9 billion, I'm good with it. Technically, it's $9.4 billion according to Politico. This is what we need. This is what we need. And then this came up this morning in a conversation I was having, and so I went and looked it up. This is from Ron DeSantis. Governor DeSantis gives Floridians the green light to run over protesters, blocking them in the street. That's exactly right. Let me tell you, and what was it? And there's pictures of that semi back in the 90s that stopped and they drug the guy out and killed him, right? Whatever the protest was then for, I don't even remember what it was for. If you're in the street, well, first of all, I'm going to try to avoid driving wherever this is happening. And it's going to, for me where I am, it won't be inconvenience, hopefully. There is a protest scheduled here for tomorrow, which is Saturday at 10 to 12 or 10 to 2. I just won't go downtown. And there's that. But there will be people that don't know that that's scheduled. And look, I don't know how many, but if they're blocking the streets and whatever, if I felt surrounded, and especially if my daughter was in the car or truck, I would do everything I could to get her to safety. Number one is I won't be in that area. But number two, I'd lock it in four-wheel drive if you have to. Make it happen. Get out of the street. Get out of the street. It's just that easy. This isn't anybody's fault besides whoever's playing in the street. We had a kid in elementary school, and I won't say his name. He got hit by a car 3 times. We all knew he was a little bit off, but he would always play in the street. Also, I guess that's the difference of time from when I was growing up to when anyway. Just brought back a whole bunch of memories about this kid, but he was definitely, he was definitely a little tilted after that third lick. Get out of the street. That's all you have to do. All right, let's move on. So DC Drano says Iran armed and funded Hamas. Iran armed and funded Hezbollah. And do you know who funded Iran? Obama and Biden. Remember all the money they gave them for the Iranian nuclear deal? The Iranian nuclear treaty? Just pallets and pallets of cash. So what's happening to Iran? You could say, hey, this was funded by the left wing of our country. Because they wouldn't hold them accountable, they cost Iranian lives. Now, nobody wants to talk about that. But if the money hadn't been given to the Iranian government, then they wouldn't have been able to continually attack Israel. Then they wouldn't have been able to continue their uranium enrichment. And then, it wouldn't have caused Israel to get to a point where, hey, they're going to kill us all. So we have to act. So, thanks, Obama. Thanks, Biden. Thousands of Iranian lives will be lost because you wanted to look good and like you were supporting Iran. I appreciate that. I'm sure they do too. It's just a frustrating situation. So anyway, that's kind of my Friday update. That's what we've got. Like I said, there's these no Kings protests going on all across the country this week. Just stay out of the area. You can look that up, and you can see all the George Soroses and the big money behind it, and just stay out of those areas. Try to be peaceful. Don't put yourself or your family in harm's way. Be praying for our law enforcement. Be praying for our country. Look, every time the Democrats, they can't think for themselves. They don't have any new thought. So they always go to violence. You can take it back to when the Democrats founded the Ku Klux Klan, right, as the political enforcement wing of the Democrat Party. To keep people in line, they've always used violence since at least 1860. This is not a new tactic for the Democrats. They'll protest or riot. They'll use violence to try to scare us into doing what they want. We just have to say no. We're not going to do that. We're going to stand on the rule of law. Anyway, all right. I hope God blesses each and every one of you today, and have a good weekend, and we'll be back and do it all again on Monday.